Is that not the catchiest tune on the internet? Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Coffee Hour with Paul. My name is Paul Abernathy, and you don't know who I am, it's probably because I haven't done any videos in, wow, at least a couple weeks. As most of you know, we ended the Electrician Live, or the Electrify, with me and Jay because of business time, and he's super busy with his business restructuring everything. So man, it's been very, very busy, but good news, and I'm here to say good news, we'll be rolling out a bunch more of the coffee hours. And if you don't know, today's topic, we're going to talk about gas prices and how they may affect your business. But coffee hour was designed by me in order to be able to talk about all different topics, and with a lot of things coming up in the future, right? We've got the 2023 code changes, things that are going to be coming up. Obviously, we're going to be still covering the 2020 stuff. But Coffee Hour with Paul is just about anything. So with that, I always tell you, if you have a topic you want us to talk about, no matter what it is, then you send me an email and let me know. Okay? So where do you send it? Well, just go to our website and you can send it from there. Just go to electricalcodeacademy.net. and you'll see a contact us button. Click it, you can send it there. But also, might as well do a shout out for this. If you have a code question, or you just have a question in general that might be featured on a podcast, a lot of the content that I provide, and we're going to start getting into, and I told y'all back about a couple months ago, that we're going to start digging into some of the programs itself and do lessons. And I have one actually airing tonight which is out of the Fast Tracks Red program, which is wiring a master bedroom. But we're going to be covering a lot of new topics that have to do with the electrical wiring. And I got some other exciting news. In about 3 months, we're going to be doing some videos with the hands-on. So I'm going to be showing you different methods of terminating MC, proper ways to do that, running NMB, proper ways to, my recommendations on certain things. And again, it's going to be very informative, so get excited for that. So if anybody thinks that we're winding down, that is farther from the truth. We're going to be ramping this thing up. So again, but I appreciate everybody's patience for the last 3 or 4 weeks that kind of been a lull in our production of putting things out there, but that's going to change. Okay, so I'm excited about that to get everything out there. So let's kind of do a recap to get us to this point. So business. Today's episode is really focused on your business. Now, whether you're this electrician working for somebody, it still affects you, right? Because, and I'm going to kind of cover this big picture and how we have to address the elephant in the room, and that is the ever-increasing gas price. So we're going to talk about that, and we'll talk about it from a business perspective, what you need to do in your business. You may already be doing this, so this might not be new. And then we'll work our way down to the individual, the electrician that's affecting, that type of thing. So it's huge, and it's affecting everybody. Now, I can joke, okay? So here's what I tell people. I just bought a 2022 Jeep Gladiator. And all over the Gladiator forums and everything I'm a member of, because I'm tricking out the Jeep, putting different things on it. It's like an addiction, if you will. This is my 4th Jeep, by the way. And one thing I'll tell you is I didn't buy it for the gas mileage. That's for sure. I mean, I'm getting a whopping 12 miles per gallon or something like that. So, but my F-150 didn't give me much more. To be honest with you, I think there's something wrong with it. I only got about 14 miles per gallon for that. So, and most of my Jeep driving is within 6 miles to and from work. Most of you know I work for Encore Wires, ahead of their codes and standards. So, I realize my gas mileage might be lower. But when you think about a business and you think about the work vans, so let's kind of start the conversation. And I have to welcome some people in the room. Joe, our CMECP, is in the room. Armando is new here. Armando, if you haven't watched any of our other episodes, there are tons of them over on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and go over on YouTube. You can see right there, it's the @MasterDannyC. Just check it out. Tons of videos. If you want to get exclusive videos, educational videos, and a lot of private podcasts, you got to join our membership. The membership's only $9.99 a month. You can cancel at any time. Get what you need. But you also get access to our Wednesday night sessions if you choose to attend. It's always optional, but if you choose to attend it, you can. So there are perks involved with being a monthly subscriber or even an annual subscriber, that type of thing. And again, that's the best way to say thank you for the content, is to do that. We realize that's about $119 a year, but we appreciate it, and we hope that you get enough education out of it, that you take something away that makes it worth your value. So check that out, but definitely there's tons of our other videos available on our YouTube channel. Check it out. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit. Who else? I want to make sure I don't forget everybody. Armando, welcome. Melvin, thank you for coming, Melvin. And everybody, Joe says he's got his coffee hour mug. So let me throw that out there for you. Coffee hour mugs, 2 sizes. This is the small size. I don't have the big size is at work, because trust me, when I'm at work, I need a big thing of coffee. I am just saying. It's available in 2 different sizes. If you get one, you send me a picture of you with your mug drinking it, and you're not a member of the membership, you get a 1 month free, and you will get thrown in a drawing for a 1-year membership. Okay, for all those that do pick up the mug. Now you might say, well, it might be a little pricey for a mug, but remember, these are one-offs. We don't buy them in bulk, so you do pay a little more. But again, the price of a beautiful mug, okay? It's on both sides. But it's 2 different sizes. Now, today, I'm not going to lie. I had to go with the big mug. This is my M&M mug. This is my second favorite mug because I needed a lot. You see, there's coffee in there. Don't lie. Don't be hating. Because I needed the coffee this morning. I was up early. And I have a busy day because now I'm going to put step rails on the side of my Jeep. Yep. Always got to be adding stuff to the Jeep. All right. Enough of that. So let's talk bottom line, gas. So as you've seen over the last couple months, the gas prices have gone literally crazy. And I'm not here to bash any administration. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try not to do that. Okay. Because everybody knows where I lean, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. I keep everybody happy. But it has a steady increase in the price. And I shouldn't say steady, because in some places it has gone crazy quickly. Right. So think about it from a business perspective, and we'll work our way down. If you're charging an hourly rate to do it, whether you charge per the hour, or if you're the owner, you're charging the hourly rate, you're usually doubling, and you got to pay the taxes, you got to pay everything. You have to pay your employees. The one thing that we will say that never goes away is death and taxes. Well, we can lump gas in with these taxes at this point, because at the price you're paying at the pump, it definitely eats into your bottom line. And if you're, I said I wasn't going to get political. I said I wasn't going to do it today. If you, and we could talk about why we would blame it, because there's a lot of people that say we wouldn't blame it on an individual, but I can tell you there are reasons why if you actually follow politics. And I do, as you most know, very closely, but I'm not going to go there. All right. So when it comes to, gas prices and how they affect your business. Now, one of the things that we realize is that we're creating, when we're doing our pricing and what we're going to charge per hour, it's all about the burdens that we have to pay, right? So we have our insurances, we have taxes. And again, if you hire people, you have to pay their taxes, you have to pay your contribution to the taxes. Obviously, some gets taken out of their pay, but you have to match it. All these things have to be done. It's just part of doing business. You have insurances that you have to carry unless you're a one-man show, and you can get away with not having workers' comp, but you still should have regular insurance, right? All those type of things. And of course, if you offer health care insurance to your employees, if you offer any types of benefits, incentives, things like that, sick leave is a burden that you have to take into consideration, because you got to pay for it when they use it. All those type of things. Now, Jay, for example, doesn't pay benefits like that. But he gets a lot more perks, right? The guys drive his vehicles. Now, they don't do it for personal use. They're for business use. So let's think about this for a second. Use of vehicles and how you run. And it seems to me like my chat's getting cut off over here. So hold on for a second, guys, while I try to adjust my chat here, because I want to make sure you guys can see all the chats that's going on. Let's see if I can adjust this chat. I don't know that I can here. Hold on. It's not letting me. Hold on for a second. I'm going to see if I can adjust the chat box. It's not really letting me adjust the chat box. Okay, sorry about that. Well, anyway, y'all will see the chat on whatever platform you're on, so that'll work. Where was I? See, I lost track. Okay, anywho. So you have to think about these burdens, right? So if you haven't figured in the increase in gas price and change your price. And a lot of people say, I don't want to change my price. I don't want to go up on my customer, those type of things. Then, the problem with that is that you really don't know your bottom line if that's the case. Actually, I just realized that it does show up, folks. I was looking at it the wrong way. My bad. I'm still constantly tweaking. Sorry about that. So you have to think about these prices, these gas prices, and it's okay to change your hourly rate accordingly. Or what I tell most people that contact me with consulting, because again, the bottom line makes a difference, is that it is okay to have surcharges. It's okay to have on your bottom line to have a gas surcharge fee and add that to your fee. So you don't want to change your rate. I get it. But when you do a call, you add a gas surcharge. Now, that's great for service work. Okay, and the gas surcharge could be simply the changing gas from, obviously you keep records from when it was at your rate that you were established at to whatever it is now. And you just charge this surcharge per mile in order to compensate for that. That works fine for service work. Non-service work, so everyday work where you're sending guys out in the fleet. Remember, we're starting out here at the top part, right? We're starting out here at the business level. And then we'll work it down how it affects you and me. So even at that level, right? Even at the business level, if you're doing service calls, you're putting a lot of miles on the vehicle. You should be able to recoup that. I mean, you should not eat that. And there's a lot of people out there that email me when the gas prices started going up and what's your recommendation? And my recommendation was you got to pass that on. You should not absorb that. Now, I recommended to them to do it as a gas surcharge because of it, right? So, I mean, that's just one way to do it. Now, if you're doing work where, let's take Jay, and Jay's not with us, but we'll pick on Jay. So you've got 8 or 9 trucks out there, and they're running to job site, from job site to job site. They're running around, and then they got to go to the supply house and what like that type of thing. You should not feel bad if you have to increase your cost and pass that over, and let your customer know, even if you have contracts, if you have well-written agreements, then there should be things that you can adjust for that are unforeseen. And one would be the increase in gas price. So increasing your cost to compensate for that, at whatever amount. Now you multiply that by many vehicles, that can add up pretty darn quickly. So you want to make sure that it's covered across the board, and you're not putting any one increased burden on one project. Come up with a structure to what the price increase that you're going to have overall, and that's what you're going to try to balance it out across all of your vehicles. So that's the first thing. So it absolutely affects your bottom line. So again, it did shock me that when people reached out to me, because people know I do a lot of consulting for contractors around the country, because they have a bunch of employees and they don't want to spend the time worrying about code or applications, or if they run into something, that they got somebody they can just pick up the phone and call. And so that's what I do. And it's fairly cheap consulting fee for that. And I designed it for the electrical contractor to keep me on kind of a retainer for anything they need. That type of advice, business advice, training, that it's pretty inexpensive, that what I charge for that. But it gives them the ability to reach out to me. Of course, I answer questions from most anybody, but these are very specific, and I learn their business a little bit. I have an hour conversation with them, and I learn a little bit more about their business, what their structure is, what their goals are, and then that's how I tailor my consulting for them. But if you think about it, I don't think anybody offers a service like that. It's cheap as dirt. But if you're interested in that, reach out to us. I'll let you know if you want me to be on your consulting. So at the end of the day, please take it into consideration, because it is a real deal. It is going to affect your bottom line. And it's a difference between whether or not you're losing money and making money at the end. And some people, when you're new, you don't think about these things, and you're not going to be making money. Hey, shout out to David's in the room. Demetrius is in the room as well. Schwartzy joined us. Whoa, there you go. He didn't pull a Grunberg on me. Hey, that's my new saying now. For Jay's not out there, that's my new saying. When you don't come to a show, or you don't come to, you just Grunberged me. I'm just saying. Another CMECP in the room. Sheppers. Welcome, Todd. Absolutely, down in Florida. Awesome. Great. Hey, it's a wonderful morning to be alive. Be thankful every day you wake up. That's a start, because there's going to be a time when we don't. So that type of thing. So, okay. So gas. Make sure you charge for it. Where's it going to go? I don't know. Which means that at this point, let's take a look really quickly before we get into the personal aspect of the gas increase and how it should affect you. Let's go look at some national averages real quick. Okay, so, here we got AAA, probably the best resource for finding these values and things like that. It's probably the best resource for it. Incidentally, I don't have AAA. I have Good Sam's, but, it's because, I have a travel trailer, which now that I put the travel trailer on a lot at a lake, probably will dump that. But at any rate, this is kind of the gas prices. Okay. And, hey, Dwayne, sorry. I'm a bad with names, so I don't remember screen names from names, but if I ever call you by your screen name or whatever is in your chat, bear with me. Of course, Swartzy, I call Swartzy, All right. So, and if you watched the, what is it? The, Spaceballs, you'd get that. All right. So here you see the kind of a map. Now I'm in the light blue here, right? And so The prices are national. The retail rough average is $4.15 to $4 a gallon. Now, I filled up this morning and I got my gas at Costco. Now, Costco usually has the best gas pricing. Again, varies different. You have a cost card like Kroger where you get those money off depending on what you shop. Okay. But Costco is like a rock's throw from me. And that's where their gas station is. And I filled up this morning for $3.88. So you folks out in California, I feel your pain. Okay. Now, some people will say, well, they make more money in California. It's all relevant. Okay. The cost of living is different. So it's all relevant. And there's no paying that kind of price at the pump is outrageous. Especially when we remember a little over a year ago, it was $2 a gallon. There is nothing that can happen. And we can blame it on everything we want. There is nothing that can happen that takes us from $2 a gallon to $5 and $6 a gallon, except for poor management. Okay, and I'm not getting political. I'll leave it right there. When you go from being energy independent to begging OPEC for oil, that's a problem. I'm just going to leave it right there. And even though I know that the pipeline that was shut down really was sending it from Alaska to the Gulf of Mexico to send to China. I get that's what that pipeline was for. I get it. We have tons of resources in that dark blue area. You see that dark blue area? That they're not letting us mine that oil for whatever reason. Okay. So I just leave that right there. We have enough oil resources under our ground to last many, many generations. But, all you got to do is Google it and read it from the National Energy Society. You'll find it. I do this stuff, but I'm not going to go there. So anyway, you see the gas prices all over the country. It fluctuates. Again, I get my gas at Costco. It was $3.88 this morning. If you're somewhere in California, you're paying $5 and $6 and $7. Boy, I feel your pain. I definitely feel your pain with that. But these are our gas prices, and it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. Okay. So many people are wondering, again, how is this affecting my company? Well, it's a big deal if you're using work vans that aren't necessarily very gas efficient, right? And, and typically if you're an owner, and we're still in the owner part, you have people that work for you, right? Joe, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm trying to be politically correct today as best as I can. But I'll blame it on somebody that you're named after. All right. So if you think about the cost per gallon and what you're burning in work vehicles are typically older, and not as efficient or weighted down with tools, and all those type of things. They usually will work at not where you get the optimum gas mileage anyway, where you get a nice mix of city driving and highway driving so that your miles per gallon comes up. Funny thing is my Gladiator gets about 12 to 13 miles per gallon, but if I do some highway miles, the average is out, then the gas miles per gallon rises. Nothing like what it said on the sticker, by the way, nowhere near it, right? So you can't believe any of that crap that you see on some sticker because that's all rigged anyway. But the gas prices, so as a business, please, step one, make sure you're carrying this over to your customer. And if you want it to be something that can go away when the gas prices come back to normal, hopefully after the midterms of 2022, and when 2024 rolls around, we fix all this mess. Again, I'm just saying, at the end of the day, you can remove that surcharge. You could drop it, okay? But at least you're letting your customer know. And they already know this. They're filling up at the pump too. They get it. They get it. Now, the other thing, it's not about the gas prices, is obviously I've heard a lot of electricians around the country who call me, and a lot that I consult with, tell me they're finding it harder to get equipment. They'll look at the prices of wire and cable that's gone up. I can tell you all about that. Hopefully you have adjusted your prices accordingly. The same $95, $85, $125 an hour that you may charge back a year ago is not the same as what you should be charging now. So your pricing should be fluid. You should be changing because you are not in business to lose money. Okay. And one of those type of things that people say, well, I don't want to feel like I'm gouging people. You're not. They're already getting gouged by this economy. They're already getting gouged by inflation. If you haven't felt it, it's because you're making enough money that you can't feel it. But people feel it. Okay. And so gas is just another thing that piles on top of it because we're all ingrained in our vehicles and going from place to place. And if you haven't listened to my podcast over on the Encore Wire podcast, which is over at Anchor, anchor.fm/Encore Wire podcast, go listen to this month's episode where I talk about the EV vehicles and the infrastructure and why everybody thinks that EV vehicles are the way to go. And I'm telling you, they are not the way to go. And that's from somebody that works closely in that industry as far as, products that get sold to this industry. We do not have the infrastructure to do what they plan on doing by 2030. And I will tell you, this stuff changes from administration to administration. So by the time the next administration rolls around, all this green stuff is going to be gone. Now, I get it. People say one less vehicle putting out polluted gas saves the world. Whatever. Okay. What we do in the U.S., unless we stop what they're doing in China and other countries, it's just putting more hardship on us. Okay. Enough of that. I don't want to talk about that. So let me go back to me. This is such an easy topic for me to get drawn down a rabbit hole, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because everybody says, there's just Paul preaching again, that Republican. Hey, this is not a Democrat or Republican. You know what? Your gas tank doesn't have a political affiliation. There you go. And I am for what's good for Americans. Okay. Anyway, enough of that. So make sure you charge for it. Now, let's go one step lower. Let's talk about you and me, the electrician, or more you than me. Okay. Because people say, Paul, you're not an electrician anymore. I still have the license, but okay, I get it. I'm old fart. Can't do it anymore. Well, you might see coming up around June when I start pumping out some of these videos of me wiring. But you get excited about that, right? I'm going to get the tools back on, baby. All right, look. So, me and you. Well, if we get to drive a company vehicle, the company is, we talked about that. They're going to have to make adjustments for that. Now, they might eat it, but they need to carry it over to their customer, right? Personally, it affects us personally because we get paid a per hour fee, right? We get what we get per hour. Now, the chances are our employer, right, is not going to increase our hourly rate for fuel surcharge, right? Sometimes we get an increase in pays due to things like cost of living. But I can guarantee you that most companies are not going to adjust. And I'll answer that, Juan. I'll answer that if you want to know. If somebody else in the chat asks the same question, why do I believe EV is not the way to go? Then I will go there. I'll go to that rant at the end here. But if somebody else asks, I'll do it. Right now, I won't go there. But Juan asks, welcome, Juan, by the way, then I will go there. Somebody else other than Juan's got to ask that question. All right, so, guys, I need two people to get me down that rabbit hole. So when it comes to, since you're probably not going to get, and I encourage you, Juan, to go listen to that podcast, by the way. It's at Anchor, ANCHOR.fm/Encore Wire podcast. Check it out. And I go into detail. So your employer's probably not going to give you an increase for gas. You still got to use your gas back and forth, right, to job site. You still got to use obviously your gas, your family, your wife, everybody else is going to be using their gas, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, significant other, whatever, right? And so at the end of the day, it cuts into what you make per hour. So we want to be extremely frugal in how we use the gas. So many people, for example, people will say, Well, you buy vehicles. If you buy certain vehicles, like somebody asked me, would I trade in my Gladiator because I'm getting 13 miles per gallon for something else to get 20 miles per gallon, 30 because of the gas price? Hell no. I went for the cool factor, baby. I love my Jeep Gladiator, right? So I am okay with gas because I'm only driving it about 6 miles a day, right? 6 miles to and from work. I work all the time. And when I'm at home, I'm at home. If we go traveling, we use the more fuel efficient vehicle, which is my wife's Kia Sportage. Believe it or not, it does get better fuel mileage. So we have a plan for it, right? But if you're the hardworking electrician, you're working and you're getting an hourly pay and you're not getting any subsidy for it, you're not getting an increase, and they won't get rid of the tax on gas. That's the first thing they should do. And you have to remember now, the oil and gas manufacturers, petroleum industry, all you got to do is go back and look and see what they made last year. Records. Every year, record profits. So if gas is such a shortage, and we don't have a lot of it, and we talk about opening up the gas or the reserves to relieve the tension, you know they only open up enough to last about 3 days, and that's it. That's all they ever open. That's not even going to do anything. So it's all just a political stunt, and everybody does it. It ain't going to ease anything. If you got a Prius, that works great. But, Prius just, you lost the cool factor. I'm just saying. But at the end of the day, you have to be very frugal as an electrician in how you do things when gas gets priced, because it eats into your hourly rate, what you make, right? Now, if you work, like Jay started a program where he actually does piecework for his guys. So they get paid by how much work they do and how fast they do it, right? So that's just another method of how you do it. And at the end of the day, he still provides the vehicles for them. So he's having to absorb that gas increase. And let me tell you, if you got 8 or 9 trucks, or if you're a company that has a fleet, you're going to feel the pinch from that increased gas pricing. You're going to feel it. So from me and you perspective, every day, we probably will take into consideration our consumption. Less lead foot. Probably instead of watching a speedometer, we'll probably put it on the mile per gallon thing and watch and try to make sure that we stay above something by not pushing the gas so hard, maybe, or whatever. I don't know. If you're like me, I don't give a damn. I'm going. I'll just deal with it. But I'm a baller like that, right? So, but it is something that we have to consider, because most electricians are not going to get reimbursed for that gas and that increase. It's just going to come out of the pocket. All right. So keeping that in mind. But again, this show was about the business and how it can affect it and how it needs to adjust for it and pay for it, that type of things. You might adjust. Here's what other people said to me. As an individual, like electrician, you might adjust it by not going out to eat one time a month, whereas you usually go out to eat. Now, what does it cost? I go out to eat with my family. It's $150 at a nice restaurant. So maybe it'll offset that. We don't go out to eat for that. We eat cheaper. I take the family McDonald's instead. How about that? But, I know, you're still cool. Even if you did have a Prius, wink, wink, you're still cool, bro. So don't worry about it. I'm not picking on you. But at the end of the day, maybe you end up learning to adjust your lifestyle. Okay? Maybe you just don't do something and you make the difference. Because look, the sad part about it is when it comes to our trade, electricians, when you get your hourly rate, that is your rate. Okay, maybe you put in some extra overtime to compensate for it, but getting around in the vehicles, working in the vehicles, going places in our vehicles, enjoying things, everything's tied to the vehicle. Believe it or not. You can't just sit in your domicile. You can't sit in your house. You can't not get out and do things. So it is going to affect you. So if you consciously thought about it, maybe you just adjust for the gas prices and realize that we're going to get through this. Okay, we are going to get through it. Okay? And gases will come back down. And it will be regulated at some point. We'll get it back to where we're going. We're not going to blame it on Russia, because it got nothing to do with Russia. In fact, we buy oil from Russia. They got nothing to do with Russia. It's a little amount, but we do. And we go begging OPEC. Just a little over a year ago, we didn't have to beg anybody for our oil. Just saying. I know, Joe, I'm dancing around it, but there you All right, so let's get back now. So we're in pretty good. So we covered that topic of gas, and I showed you the gas prices. We'll go back real quick to the gas prices. We're throwing out some things here. So obviously, people tend to think that because I'm in Texas, that the gas prices would be cheaper in Texas because you're close to the refineries out in the Gulf, and actually not so true. But we have a lot of drilling that took place in Texas and Oklahoma, but the current administration really limited the amount of drilling and made it very difficult to get drilling permits. Even in that dark blue area, which under the earth, we have literally so many reserves of oil in the ground that we could drill out that it's not even funny, but different story. So there's kind of your average that I found over on AAA. So make sure you check that out. And again, I feel your pain. Think of ways to compensate for it from the personal level, what you might have to give up, or you could just say, screw it. It's gas, it is what it is. I ain't stopping, you know. The kid don't need braces this year. You know, hey, what? The mother-in-law has medication. I'm just playing. Don't do that. All right, so let's go back to me. All right, so let me address the EV vehicle thing. Couple things. With all the manufacturers, and I'm gonna go into it for you all now because more than one people ask about it. So, you know, and you can agree, disagree. It's okay. It's perfectly okay to disagree. And I know I should say, for anybody that gives me a thumbs down for my videos, piss on you. Okay. I guess you don't like it. Some people don't like me for some whatever reason. I have never done anything to anybody, but I don't really care. I'm giving you my opinion, and I'll always give you my opinion. So on you. All right. So for those that do thumb up and do follow me, appreciate you. All right. EV. So first thing is, when I worked at NEMA about 10 years ago, we had this thing called EV Ready. It was a big push to make sure that the infrastructure was ready. And we didn't talk about the governmental infrastructure. What we talked about at that time was buildings. So when you're building a building, and from my perspective, and this is what you should think about, people think about what's necessary to do a load calculation for the service for a building. They put all this stuff, these buildings right behind me, right downtown Dallas here. They put in a lot of thought on the service and the calculation and all those type of things. But with EV vehicles, everybody's so focused on, oh, that's the way to go. That's going to save our environment. With every good move, there's a negative move that you have to think about, and you have to address it. First of all, do anybody remember last year or year for whatever it was that Texas had that issue with the ice and we were totally shut down for a week? People's pipes were freezing, everything, and we were taken off guard, right? Because nobody put antifreeze, if I'm using that loosely, antifreeze in the windmills, because we get a certain amount from windmill. I'm going to tell you, we don't get a significant amount in Texas from windmill for that to have made a big difference. The problem is the infrastructures aren't capable of handling the increased consumption that it takes to charge EV vehicles. So right now, if you were to go and look online and do a Google search, you'll see how many EV chargers are around the country and what they project by 2030 to have over 500,000 EV charging stations around the country. Now, let's keep something in mind. How about this? Here's some homework for you. Look in your own city. Do a search. Find, there's a site, I can't remember it, but it allows you to look, because all of the EV chargers that are set up in your city, they'll tell you where they're at. Most of the time, they're at businesses, and they only have 1 or 2 stalls, okay? And a lot of times, they're only for use by that business, but they're around there. Now, granted, you can charge your vehicle in your home, and it can take 16 to 18 hours level 1 tile charger, and that's perfectly fine for local use. And I'm not against the EV. When I say that EV is not the way to fully go, my belief is full EV, like the Leaf from Nissan, then Tesla. Pretty looking vehicles, but to me, not the full way to go. The F-150 Lightning, the last thing I want to do is be pulling my travel trailer out in the middle of somewhere, and then all of a sudden I get that you got low battery, or what we're familiar with our phones, where all of a sudden they randomly discharge. Just saying. Now, I'm not even going to talk about some that burn up, some of the lithiums that burn up. I'm not even going to go there, right? Okay. So So I'm gonna get there, Joe. So we don't have the infrastructure. So if we were to say, have the motor industry say that we're going to go away from producing fossil fuel powered vehicles to EV vehicles, and that's the beautiful way to go because we buy into that woke culture. Not that EV vehicles are bad, okay? Please don't turn it off yet. I think that hybrid is the way to go. I think if you create a hybrid that can give you decent electric vehicle mileage, supplemented by gas mileage like the Volt, that is the way we should go in the short term for this deal and set the stage for the rest of the world to see what we're doing. Because then we can immediately cut the consumption of fossil fuels, give enough. I mean, why are we giving away so much pork in the government to BS things? That infrastructure package, go read it. It's available online. What a load of crap. Nothing in that bill will get done. And all that money is going to studies that by the time the next administration comes in, and we've seen this, remember, it'll be thrown out. That's a waste of money. We know how our government works. We're familiar with it. It doesn't matter which administration's in there. We know how government works, okay? A lot of fluff, a lot of promises, no action, and we're stuck in the same situation, okay? All right. Sadly, it takes a bridge to fall down and people to get killed for somebody to say, hey, we need new bridges. That needs to be done on a local level, okay? So anyway, I'm going to digress. So infrastructure. In order to be able to go from coast to coast, you cannot set out in your vehicle and adequately charge your vehicle along your journey easily and efficiently as you can with fossil fuels. So if I take from Texas and I'm going to head out to Virginia, that's where my family was from here, okay, where I was born. It's about 1,300 miles. So the average EV vehicle might get you 200, 300 miles per charge if you're lucky. Yeah, you can go with the high-end one if you're one of those ballers that have the nice ones, okay? Not to mention that you're going to have to replace that battery in about 5 years at a tune of $20,000, probably minimum, and you're going to have to probably wait 6 weeks to get one. So you're probably going to be renting a fossil fuel while you're getting your EV vehicle serviced, I'm just saying. So anyway, my opinion is our infrastructure, our grid, cannot handle it. Sure, you can charge at your home. Hopefully your home has the capacity for that. Normally 200 amp service shouldn't have any problem handling a 20 amp for an EV. It might even handle a level 2 for like a Tesla charger. Still going to take you 4 to 6 hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours to charge it, even at a level 2. It's okay for overnight. And you might not need to charge but once or twice a week if you're doing local driving. Hey, I don't have a problem with EV vehicles, but it's not the answer to the problem. You don't get rid of fossil fuels because you think everything needs to go to EV. You have to actually take little bites at this and not make these statements about you're going to go 100% EV, you're going to, it's not going to work. This comes from a guy who studies the industry, and I look at the infrastructure. So, out on the interstates, I'll use Texas as an example. If I'm going up and down the interstate and I need gas, I pop into what's called a Buc-ee's. It's not Busey's, it's Buc-ee's, okay? And it's Beaver, a little Beaver shack. And I go in there and I get gas. There is no way that I'm going to sit 4 to 6 hours for a level 2 at a Buc-ee's. Okay, so they say we'll put in a level 3. And a level 3 tends to be about 125 amps a piece, if higher. It's usually DC, rapid charge. Since there's no standardization with the ports that plug into your vehicle, so that still has to be tackled. Tesla uses a totally different configuration. There's no standardization for that. I mean, most of the smaller ones, level 2s, level 3, they try to stay in the same configuration, but there's no standard, right, for this. So, any rate, we don't have the infrastructure because those buildings, if I'm going to put in a level 3 at a Buc-ee's, right now I've got dozens of gas pumps, okay, fuel dispensing pumps. First of all, if you've ever been one, they would have to redo everything for this infrastructure. Secondly, I can guarantee you the service that's coming to that Buc-ee's was not evaluated, calculated to take into consideration adding all of these rapid chargers at 125 amps or higher apiece. And again, people don't want to sit around. Now, with Buc-ee's, you could probably waste about 30 minutes or 45 minutes inside one of those things if you've ever been to a Buc-ee's. It's cool, right? But out in anywhere else that you might have, think of the number of vehicles we have. And if it pushes really rapidly to an EV world, then what happens is you're not going to have the charging spaces. Now, they can ramp it up as much as they want. The other thing that they don't think about is our power grid. Now, it depends on where you live in the country. If you live up in the Chicago area, you're used to brownouts. If you're in the Northeast, you're used to brownouts. If you're out in California, you're used to rolling brownouts. Why? Because in the summer, people are using air conditioning. It sucks the grid. But nobody's changing the grid. Let me ask you a question. If you had a road repaired in your city somewhere, a major road, how many years does it take for that to complete? 3, 4, 5 years? Think about your infrastructure. Think about what it takes to increase power consumption at a power production plant. One, they don't seem to like nuclear energy, which is probably most efficient. They're shutting down all the coal plants. You tell me what the plan is. Nobody's talking about the plan for the infrastructure. Now, we got this infrastructure bill. Go read it. It's all fluff. They don't have a plan. So Texas has 3 power plants. We're independent. I shouldn't say 3 power plants. We have 3 independent grids that intersect Texas. So the joke is Texas could secede from the Union. We could leave and be our own little country. Okay, except for a lot of products come in through that, so it's kind of, whatever. And of course, we haven't even learned how to close the southern border, so that ain't going to work for us. So if we have Texas, the problem is we saw what happened last year. We saw what happens when we get the bill and we get these news reports in Texas about our grid having problems during the summer because of air conditioning. And then they literally send out notices that say, set your temperature at this and don't do this and please help conserve energy. If everybody is now charging EV vehicles, and let's face it, we are all going to do this, right? If you have a level 1 charger for your Volt or your Tesla, your Prius or whatever you got, you're not going to say, ooh, I'm not going to charge it every night. I'm going to try to stretch it 3 nights. You know what they're going to do. Every time they pull into the garage, they're going to plug it in. Keep that thing topped off. That's just the nature. When you do your phone, you probably charge it every night, even if the thing is not to 0. Okay. Our grid didn't take into consideration this level of consumption. Okay. Now, people say, well, it's a 200 amp service. Paul, they had to figure everything based on that. They absolutely do not do that. Okay, that's your calculation. The utility has a totally different assumption of what your usage and consumption is. And their grid is based on usage and consumption. So that's why we talk about the National Electrical Code. And trust me, we will be talking code in Coffee Hour. So if you're saying, why aren't you talking code, Paul? We will. We got a lot of new episodes that'll be coming up. But anyway, so at the end of the day, if you have everybody starting to switch rapidly, your grid's not going to handle it. Okay, so that's a local issue, right? So the next thing is interstate travel. Going down an interstate and trying to put the infrastructure at rest stops, because that seems the most logical place to do this, is rest stops. Now, here's a weird thing. These rest stops are spaced a certain length apart, right? And if your vehicle, I'm going to tell you right now, if you've ever had your phone battery get low, what happens to your phone? It's gone. It's off. It's dead. If I'm out and I'm trying to make it to a rest stop and my battery on my car says it's time to charge, and sometimes, batteries get older as they get used, and temperature affects that. If you're colder or warmer, it can affect the discharge of a battery, right? And nobody's talking about putting a reserve battery in a battery car, like, well, let's have an emergency reserve. What if you're in an area where you don't have a rest stop? And all of a sudden your vehicle gets down and you stop. You can't call AAA and say, come out and bring me 5 gallons of gas. You're stuck. That's it. Okay? So we're not ready for that. We're not. Now, would it be great in a perfect world for everything to be electric? Dude, I'm an electrician. That'd be so sweet, right? But at the end of the day, we're not. Also, we have more fossil fuel than we could ever use available underground in the Midwest already. Google it. We're just not allowed to drill it. Alaskan Pipeline, instead of sending that to the Keystone Pipeline, get that back going, instead of sending that to China, it's ours. Now, the reason people ever ask why we were sending all that to China is because we actually, believe it or not, we made more money selling it than using it. So it was cheaper for us to buy gas from somebody else and sell our gas because we made money. Today probably wouldn't work. The same math wouldn't work, but that was their concept. So if you Google the Keystone Pipeline, originally it wasn't for our own personal consumption, which it should be. But again, we should be drilling in the middle of the country. But anyway, enough of that. I'm not in administration and I'm not running for office, thank God. So how long do y'all think I would make it before I was impeached? Just saying. Let's see, what do we got in the room here? Joe says they're installing Tesla EV charger stations at rest stops here in Massachusetts. About 8 chargers supplied from a separate 300 kVA 277 480 pad mount service. That's a lot of power for 8 chargers. Absolutely. And as many people that go up and down the interstate, they are going to charge those Tesla chargers. So here's the other thing, Joe, are those the rapid charge level 3s? It sounds like they probably are, which can charge in about 30 to 45 minutes. If you only have 8, and if you ever been to a rest stop, 15, 20, 30 people sitting there, the people are going to be just lined up waiting at a rest stop. Okay. Well, some people will say, well, that's okay. It's saving the environment. It's not saving the environment. Okay. There are other things that you could do to a vehicle. Let me just say, you know how we have the big power plants that have scrubbers on them that are at the top? And that happened many years ago for EPA. It reduces the emissions. As that could be done to a car. That could be done to the exhaust system. That could be a module that's placed on the end of the muffler. There's things that we can do. Dude, we put people in space. Elon Musk sends a rocket up and makes the damn thing come back and land on a pad the size of, I don't know, baseball diamond or less. Look. Also, we make synthetic oil. How come we can't make synthetic gas? Just things that make you go, huh? And the reason we don't is because the petrochemicals making record profits every year. If gas is such a shortage, why is ExxonMobil making billions of dollars in profits? Where's their heart? Where's their heart? They don't care about the people because they're a corporation and they don't have to care about people. That's business and they're making money and that's what they do, right? So, all right. So that's my belief on that. I don't believe our infrastructure is ready for it. I think that you're going to see this go poof with the next administration. In fact, a lot of it you might see go poof by the end of this year if there's a red wave that happens. And people say, well, that sucks because I care about the environment. Suck it up, buttercup. Okay? This is almost as bad as people that say we need to get rid of the plastic straws because they're ruining the ocean. Yet the cups they put it in are plastic and they're also floating in the damn ocean. It's a change of people. You have to change what you do. Okay? You put the plastic cup, plastic straws in the trash, Nimrod. Anyway, y'all know where I'm at on all that kind of crap anyway. There's more that we could do, but getting rid of fossil fuels is not the answer. Okay? There's other ways out there, but anyway, that's enough of that. So yes, there you go. There's my kind of, and if you want more on that, in fact, you know what? Let me type this in here. Let me type this in here so that you can go to it and listen. Hold on here. I will do it in here so you can go listen. If you're interested, that's the podcast. And Let's see. Exam prep, Schwartzy. There you go. Yeah. So, Schwartzy, we got 5 more minutes, man. You can't hang out 5 more minutes. All right. Anyway, so that's it. That's kind of my topic for today. The gas prices, and you've got my opinion. Again, some people would throw the thumbs down. That would be the ultra green people. Hey, I'm all about a green environment. I want to save the world. Again, if the other countries aren't helping, it's kind of pointless. But at the end of the day, we have to be smart. So for you folks out there for your gas, if you own a company, make sure you're charging a surcharge, okay? Make sure you're compensating yourself for this increased gas price. You should not be taking a hurt because of this. Adjust accordingly, okay? But don't change your pricing scheme. If you're comfortable with your pricing scheme, just add it as a fuel surcharge and increase that and make sure that's carried over. And that's easy if you're doing service work. You can just charge it to the bill and put it on there as a fuel surcharge, that type of thing. Make sure you add it to your websites or whatever, that people are aware of that, right? When it comes to contract work, you're a contractor and you're doing contract work, don't be afraid to send an update to all of the people you do work for saying that when you get your bill, there will be a fuel surcharge increase due to the cost of the fuel in their vehicles. That's fluid, right? That's fluid. That means that these people are aware of this. Now, you might get a few to say, no, I signed an agreement at this price. Well, if that's the case, then again, that's a difficult one that you got to handle. And most of the people understand that the fuel charge is affecting everybody. But you also should be making these adjustments for pricing costs of equipment. If your price of your equipment goes up, you need to carry that over. There's no reason you should have to eat any of that, okay? And I know people that say, well, I'm not changing anything. I'm going to ride this thing out. These gas prices are going to be this way for a while, and they're going to get higher. Okay, so pass that on, because you can easily take it away. You can say, hey, and it gives you a reason to reach out to your customer. When all this is over, or it comes down to a manageable level, you can go, everybody, I'm excited to say, I wanted to touch base with all of you. I appreciate your flexibility with our company over this past year. I have great news. We're going to be removing the fuel surcharge and things like that. It gives you another reason to reach out. And also, by the way, I'm always thinking about marketing. When that does happen, it's a great opportunity to do that in a flyer or a letter or an email that also puts on the bottom an update on any of the new services you're offering, or, hey, it's time to do this checkup, or, hey, it's, if you're getting any new project coming, give us consideration, or, there's a way for you to turn this into a positive thing by removing it at some point, when we can remove it at some point. Right now, it is what it is, and you need to make sure that you're getting paid for it, because it's hurting everybody in the process, okay? And then, of course, there are those few individuals out there that comment and say, suck it up, gas is what it is, just get out there and do the work, eat it. Now, if I'm an owner, I'm a contractor, it is no way I need to eat it. Pay it forward, okay? But you're going to have to determine the difference in what you pay forward. And you need to think about that across your company. I got 8 vehicles, 10 vehicles. What is the amount that's going to, for every project, that you're going to be able to compensate for that, okay? That type of scenario, and do it that way. Also, if you are a big company and you want to carry that surcharge over to your customer, but you also want to put a little bit in there to be able to kick back to your employees, maybe put that as part of a bonus or whatever you give them to help them out, that's totally up to you. How you want to help your customer, how you want to help your employee, or if not, just remember, they are feeling the same effects. So if you increase it for your benefit, think about your employee, okay? Those type of things. Now, if you're like Grunberg and you're already a baller and you make all that money, then maybe you don't need to do that. But not all of us do. So anyway, thought it was a great show. I want to thank everybody again for chiming in. Joe, Schwartzy, Juan, Mike, didn't miss out on you there. Saw you coming in there. Jason, I did see in there. You're exactly right. We are not ready for that big EV, but we're going to get there maybe, but we're not ready now. So, before I go, advice to anybody that listens to this, contractors, designers, engineers. It's not going away. Get EV ready. Make sure that when you design your systems that you are thinking about capacity to add EV chargers for your company. It is a benefit because we're going there. There's no way to turn this thing back. Now, some of the stuff is going to get canceled probably, but we are ingrained. The manufacturers of vehicles say they're going to go EV, right? So make sure that you make a recommendation to the company, to the engineers, to the designers that, hey, you might want to go on and think about that capacity when you're doing your service. Think about the capacity. Like Schwartzy's doing here, thinking about what they do, or Joe, what they're thinking about, the capacity. Make sure you build that in. Secondly, make sure they think about a location that they're going to do this, and make sure they run the raceways. Make sure they get it ready. Now, it doesn't mean they have to pull the wire, which I'd love if you buy the wire and pull it, but they don't have to. But get it ready. Get it out there to a junction box somewhere out there ready. So when you're ready to pull that trigger, the infrastructure's already there. So do it right now. Put the raceways in right now because it's not going away. In some form or fashion with this woke culture, it's here to stay. Plus, it's still good for the environment. I get it. But not in one big bite. Okay? So with that said, think about the EV readiness. Check out that podcast that I did with Kevin over on Encore Wire. And just check that out. The link is in the chat. Be ready for it. Now, when you're building homes and you're doing residentials, think about that when you're designing the home. Remember that if you're going to put an EV vehicle in a home, then you need to have a branch circuit that's for the EV vehicle. And that has to be taken into consideration. Of course, they're also in the calculation of the branch circuit. Remember, under 625, that is considered a continuous load. Okay. So, obviously if that thing's going to charge on a level 1, that thing's going to be charging for way more than 3 hours at its full output. So the pure definition of a continuous load, by the way. So these are the things that you need to start thinking about, getting it in their head, letting the engineers know it's coming. Do yourself a favor. Encore Wire, perfect company to have EV vehicles, but nobody ever thought about putting that infrastructure in, right? Even with the new vehicles the new building that's getting built, they should have thought about the capacity in order to add some chargers. It's much easier to do it now than it is to do it after the fact. So think about that. If you're part of the design team, think about readiness now. Think about your service sizing. Think about the capacity. Think about the locations. Think about putting the raceways in, sizing them properly, getting it ready because it's coming. And it is a benefit that you can add to your employees, okay? Because they're going to be pushed into EV vehicles over the next course of a couple years, okay? All right, folks, I appreciate every one of you for joining me. We got many more coffee hours coming up, and make sure you subscribe because you want to get that notification that we're going to have a coffee hour. And I promise you the next one will be very much code oriented. Promise you. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it will be. And so until next time, folks, stay safe. And if I offended you with my political affiliation and what I said about the current administration, I would apologize, but I really don't care. Till next time, folks, stay safe. God bless.
Morning coffee, vanilla latte served to go. I drink it slow. Morning coffee, cappuccino, hold the phone. Take me home. Morning coffee, vanilla latte served to go. I drink it slow. Morning coffee, cappuccino.